2 years ago, Eaglemoss, the company best known for its role in the state of my basement, went bankrupt. They stopped selling their model starships. It was very sad, and they dissolved essentially as a legal entity. They don't exist anymore. Which, of course, means that they can't sue you if you just picked off where they left off. That's right, today, an announcement I forgot about ages ago, I think it was made. Fanhome, the company, picked up the license for Eaglemoss. They do mostly things like build your own Enterprise D that Eaglemoss did. Those part mail. I own thousands of them. I should really know what they're called. Where you build something big over a few issues every month. They literally do build the Enterprise D. They bought that off of Eaglemoss when it went under. They also got the rights to make little model starships. And today, they have announced, they've revealed their new collection, and oh my god, is there a lot of promising things. In brief, it's Eaglemoss is back. That I'm actually surprised how back Eaglemoss is. So I'm just going to go over the article with the highlights, and then we'll take a look. So obviously, the biggest thing is, yes, the model Starship collection is starting off. They revealed their first 3 issues. It is the Titan A. I assume it's in this order as well, because this is what all the outlets are showing. The Titan A, the Stargazer, and the Farragut. Which the Titan, okay, sure. But the Stargazer and the Farragut aren't really what you would launch a new line with. Of course, you'd launch, with what Eaglemoss did. You'd get your Enterprises, maybe a Protostar, because Eaglemoss never did that. But quite clearly, they're actively making a decision not... Basically, they're picking up right where Eaglemoss would have left off. Eaglemoss was in the middle of 32nd Century Discovery, which does get a name drop, Discovery. Afterwards, this is what Eaglemoss was working on when it went under, is the Picard ships. So, yeah, you'll also look at their website, which we'll look later. The Enterprise F is pictured, which I'm very excited about. We're picking off right where Eaglemoss left, at least for now. I mean, if they go for years and years and years, we'll see. But there's a lot of interesting details in this article. First off, the model collection is coming in November. This article said Q4 the first time I read it, so it looks like that's been updated, or they're just talking out of their bum here. But yeah, it's Eaglemoss. So it's releasing a new die-cast model Starship every month. It's die-cast and high-quality resin, exactly what Eaglemoss was. The collection, this is the interesting bit, will cover all modern Star Trek series. So they specifically list all modern Star Trek series: Picard, Stranger Worlds, Discovery, Lower Decks, Prodigy. So, Protostar coming soon. But it seems like, at least for now, they're not doing classics, which, by and large, is pretty good. I mean, there are some things I wouldn't mind. I'd love the Enterprise lineage in gold, like Eaglemoss was doing. But, I mean, Eaglemoss had covered classic Star Trek so much. What they were releasing, Kravik and Praylor ships. They were basically, they've been doing random aliens for a while. I'm sure there's gaps, and, maybe Fanhome will do that. I wouldn't be surprised if they do special issues like Eaglemoss did down the line. But yeah, the focus on modern series, and in particular, the shows as they're happening, yeah, I think we're just going to avoid, because this is quite clearly, as you will see, this is Eaglemoss again, and people like me who own all but 4 Eaglemoss ships, the Brawn from Star Trek Online, the Melbourne, the Kazon Carrier, and the Klingon D5 tanker. We're not gonna buy, we're not gonna double our collection. You've seen the state of my basement, but you haven't seen the state of the room next to the room I just showed you. So yes, we haven't actually seen any of the ships yet. I don't think they're done. We'll get into more of that when we get into Fanhome's website, but we do have some descriptions of what we're gonna get. So yeah, die-cast and high-quality resin. The real question is, will the windows be misaligned? That's what we're all here to know. Spoilers, you won't figure that out, but I've got some ideas. The typical model, here's some interesting bits. The typical model will be between 7 and 9 inches. Although, interestingly, the website itself says 7 to 10 inches, but every news article I've seen has said 7 to 9. So either there's some rounding or they're planning like one 10-inch model. So, Eaglemoss played around with its scales. We have, O's ship, which is supposed to be Discovery size. We've got like Discovery or something, which is XL. But 7 to 9 inches is something like this. So here we've got a 7-inch Starship model, the, what are they called? Columbia-class refit of the Enterprise. This is an Eaglemoss Special Edition, one of the early ones. It's the closest I could find. It's basically exactly 7 inches. That's about Discovery size. I mean, the mid-sized Discovery range really did vary. But yeah, we're not talking the little ones that they used to release. We're talking Discovery. But 9 inches is something like this, the XL NX Enterprise, which, yes, XL. Oops, yeah, don't worry, that broke ages ago. Yeah, the NX Enterprise, the XL Enterprise is XL. I mean, Discovery would hit the XL. This is maybe the smaller XL size. But yeah, for some of these ships, we're going to get big. And things like the Enterprise F or even the Titan A, I am sure we'll get an Enterprise G. But the Titan A will fit very nicely on these lineage walls, like for the Enterprises, as I've got both these models there. But 10 inches, if Fanhome is right, 10 inches actually gets us up to this massive chunk. Of course, the Enterprise C is maybe a bad example because it's, it's pretty square, but its length is exactly 10 inches long. So yeah, I mean, that's big. If we hit like the Enterprises in this, we won't even need an XL. However, speaking of XL, if we skip down, there will also be regular, higher-priced XL-sized models for major ships that will be approximately 11 inches. So again, I'm sure we'll get the Protostar, probably the Enterprises. 11 inches gets us up to our lovely XL Constitution class, which, yeah, I mean, that's just Eaglemoss XL. Eaglemoss XL was 11 inches. 7 to 9 is, I think, a tad bigger than what Discovery was advertised as or what it would often hit. You have plenty of smaller things like the Schramm, the Zimmerman. I know, I set those up last night. But yeah, XL is just straight up Eaglemoss. So I think some people are disappointed you don't get those very small ones, the standard size Eaglemoss, which I take it or leave it. I like the extra detail you get in the big ones. I can, at least so far, store them, display them. It is just disappointing, though, especially where I lived before. I could have the entire Federation standard line literally displayed in a row that wrapped around the whole room, because there's this little ledge. I can't remember if I ever showed that off. But, it means you really can't display the small ones and the big ones together, unless you get a ripoff like O's flagship. And if you're not displaying your ships chronologically, what are you doing? Like, genuinely, what are you doing if it's not some sort of chronological ranking? So it kind of helps that, they're still separated by eras. But yeah, I'm not going to complain too much. In fact, no, I'm just not going to complain at all. So again, they're working with Paramount Global to ensure the models are as accurate as possible. They're getting the original VFX, just like Eaglemoss. Paramount was just as devastated as we were when Eaglemoss went down. Like, they were like, no, yeah, we want this to happen. Literally everybody involved wanted Eaglemoss to keep going. So, in line with that, each model will come with a 16-page magazine that offers an in-universe profile. It's the Eaglemoss magazines. So 16 pages. I took a look at some random magazines I had. Standard original line, if you don't count the cover page, which Eaglemoss do, is like 17 pages. The Discovery line, it looked like it was getting 15 pages. So this is smack dab in the middle, just the Eaglemoss magazines, which They're nice, they're nice, but kind of just taking up space. They'd get repetitive, but for the new ships, actually, that could be interesting. Here's the big one. The project is being supervised by Ben Robinson, who, if you don't know, previously oversaw the Eaglemoss line. In fact, I think all the Eaglemoss lines. And this is the biggest bit of news for me, because, yeah, it's just gonna be the Eaglemoss starships. We haven't seen them. Is actual models. Again, I don't think they're quite finalized, but it's Ben Robinson. They're just doing Eaglemoss again. I would be amazed if it wasn't this style when we finally get our ships, but of course I haven't pre-ordered because I want to see one. They're available from the website I'm about to show you via a subscription. You can buy them individually for $65. I think that's what Discovery was selling for about the end of Eaglemoss. Or $54 a month is part of the subscription, which again is what Discovery did. I don't talk too much about the price, other than it's what Eaglemoss was, as I recall, because whether this is too much or not really depends on who you are and your status, your economic status, and also unique ship variants for subscribers. So again, Enterprise G, I'm sure. We can't not have the Enterprise G. As much as I've taken massive dumps on the design of the Enterprise G, you do need the Enterprise G. God, Constitution 3 class, is that what we're calling this monstrosity? That doesn't make... Okay, no, we'll save that for the actual review. So yeah, a little more detail on the Fanhome website. You can just notify me for they'll tell you when this changes. Enterprise F, honestly, the one I'm most excited for this. Look at this beauty. And XL Enterprise F we all wanted. Also, if you hover over this image, it says build your own Millennium Falcon. So... yeah, we've got that Eaglemoss not quite built correctly charm, who knows if you'll sometimes be sent the totally wrong ship. Who knows what the customer service will be like. I did notice, actually, there's a frequently asked question where they mention... basically, you need all the shrink rack and stuff intact if you're gonna return. But I think Eaglemoss also said that. They didn't really enforce it. You'll still get a base, which I hope is the Eaglemoss base just for consistency, but I'm not gonna really complain if it's not. Yeah, collector's box. Ooh, it comes in a box. I mean, I guess if it's got art, more things to shove under the stairs. Do you know how you keep your boxes? Because otherwise, when you move, it's very hard to get a basement like that. But the only other interesting bit is we've got renders of glimpses or how they look. So this is why I think they're not done yet, which is interesting. If we're launching in max 6 months, and if we're launching in November, 4 months, Eaglemoss was months ahead. That's why we have the 32nd century ships and the lower deck stuff, is because they produced ahead. So when they went out of business, they had a bunch of unreleased stuff. But as I recall, Eaglemoss would also kind of announce a bunch of stuff. Then they'd catch up pretty close to that announcement and then announce a bunch more stuff with images. So it might be that they planned several months and then they took 5 months working on the next batch, got those all at once, and then announced them. So they kind of had a month or two buffer, but just planned way in advance, and they happened to go out of business at the best time for fans to get as big a buffer as possible. I don't know. I mean, Ben Robinson's running it again. Eaglemoss went out of business because of essentially greed at the highest levels of management. It was profitable, it was working, but the management expanded the company so much that it was just too fragile. It was unsustainable. And so technically, COVID killed Eaglemoss, but COVID just happened to be the first disruptive force that came around. And yes, it was a big one. But if it wasn't COVID, something else would have. But yeah, so Ben Robinson wasn't one of those higher up managements. He was basically just the guy that ran the production and had to do what the people above him said. He just did his job. Everyone at Eaglemoss was great at the authenticity. I'm really happy we get Ben Robinson again. And you can see, I mean, yeah, it's just a gray 3D model, but it does look like, the ships. If you zoom really in, I notice, though, maybe we'll have to do the other model. But you see, we've got the phaser indentations. And so, yeah, I mean, we just got the Titans, but I did want to show, though, over on the Stargazer, is if you really zoom in, you see the Stargazer has got, of course, a whole bunch of windows on its hull. It's also got these weird, like, little scratch marks where the windows go. So I think they're embedding the windows a little bit, like Eaglemoss did. So when you run your finger over them, it's bumpy, which means, oh yeah, we're getting misaligned windows. Unless Fanhome is really like putting money into the production process, it's Eaglemoss. They're indenting the windows. They're indenting all the little details they used to. And honestly, I'm really happy that this is coming back. Like, I just hope it looks like Eaglemoss, because it was so good. They're like 4 or 5 ships of the hundreds Eaglemoss produced. In fact, I've got my little thing. How many starships did Eaglemoss produce? A little over 400 Eaglemoss ships, and of those, yeah, like 4 or 5 got worse when I actually looked at the model. And I mean, like, my appreciation for the design and stuff. So many of them, like, I wanted to get my hands on, and I'll say in my reviews, like, I want to get my hands on this to really understand the design. And like the Farragut, this image of the Farragut, I believe, is the first time we ever see the top of the Farragut, because everything else, it's this sort of underside that I recognize the scene you clipped this image from. And so even like the Neo Constitution, I'm probably going to appreciate more when I get it. I'm still going to say it's not the Titan A and it's not the Enterprise G, but that appreciation really helps. The Eaglemoss is why I came around to Discovery's 23rd century ships. It's a big reason. The other was the Stellaris Star Trek mod, where I saw the Enterprise kind of bleed into Discovery and then bleed out into TOS. That was good. And yeah, it's just good for the fans. And we don't have a backlog of like thousands of dollars for me to play catch up on, because I joined Eaglemoss quite late. So actually $54 a month is fine for me. So I'm happy. Just make them look like Eaglemoss, or even just make them look not weird next to Eaglemoss, but like Ben Robinson's just gonna do the same thing he did before. It's like, again, Eaglemoss was successful. The issue was scale. They just scaled up way too fast and unsustainably. And if we go to fandom, they're not running too many lines. And I mean, these little like Marvel collections, they look small, but like those look pretty good. This little ET, as I said, most things are like those bigger Build Your Enterprise D. But at least these images, I mean, the stuff looks good. Actually, the Build Your Enterprise D is the thing that looks the worst out of everything I'm seeing, and that was Eaglemoss. But yeah, I will, of course, if it's not clear, I will almost certainly be reviewing these when we get them. Hopefully, as it's not Eaglemoss, actually basically at the same time that the UK gets them. You used to be months behind. But yeah, this is a great news for Eaglemoss fans. It's just Eaglemoss. Everything about this, except the name, is Eagle. Even Star Trek: The Official Starships Collection. That's just the Eaglemoss logo for the Official Starship Collection, cleaned up a little bit. Again, November. If this is the state of, whoops, I closed the tab. If this is the state of the models, where there's those gray. I mean, those 3D renders are done, right? So they're probably just getting the prototypes. I'm sure Ben has prototypes they probably didn't want to show, because, you know, they can look bad. They can be not the right colors. I've seen prototypes. Or maybe they're not, because the final prototype would be final. It shouldn't be too long before we actually see what these models look like. I wonder if the real question is, will we get overlap with the unreleased ships Eaglemoss did, like all the 32nd century. There's plenty of 32nd century they didn't do, and I would love. There's plenty, like, I don't know what the rights issues stand with, but there's plenty that were unreleased, but had final prototypes. They just never went into mass production, so we couldn't get them. I wonder if Ben Robinson just like has them on his computer. He can go, or he like uses the Eaglemoss model they made to model like 3D and get that done. Of course, I'd hope for no overlap for the selfish reason that I own everything, and it was pretty easy to get the 32nd century stuff if you wanted it. But I would want more. I mean, the Constitution class. The Excelsior variant, the ring ship, the forest. Oh my god, the forest. If you can pull that off, I would love. But yeah, I've been going on too long. No one's going to stay this long. So yeah, I will just say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time on the definitive Starship review series without access to a proper table. It'll be good saying that one again.